started.
So I had to
One
take
thing,
the
'cause I
time.
forgot.
I called you.
We've got
Check everything over.
I checked everything over yesterday.
I'm trying to earlier.
Emergency clause.
I walked in and it was 82 degrees. The air conditioner, when I turned the air conditioner fan on, so it would circulate air.
Okay.
Got it down to
No,
This side was nothing. That plastic bag.
We'll see my house right now.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start this council meeting. July 19th, 6:32. With the call to order, we're going to ask Eric Shine to lead us in a word of prayer. So if we'll stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this wonderful city that you've provided with us. And Lord, we just thank you so much that you have given us a group of people that can come together and just absolutely work together to better the city. Lord, I ask you to give us your knowledge to continue to making this the best city it can be. I ask you to be with our service providers as they go out and provide emergency services. And Lord, I just ask you to be with us this night. In your glorious name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ask City Clerk to perform the roll call, please.
Eric Shine,
Here.
Keith Williams,
Here.
Kendall Stuckey,
Here.
Paula Allred,
Here.
Thomas Evers,
Here.
Jeanette Lassiter,
Here.
Terry Sayer,
here.
Dean Bittner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
You all have received your packets, and we'll look at the consent agenda. Any corrections or additions to the minutes that anyone would like to address?
I just saw something very minor, but towards the very end, the last sheet actually says minutes of regular council meeting. Just a typo. It says June instead of June.
Oh,
Change the
okay.
M to an N.
June 21st.
Yeah, very minor. Probably not a major
2011.
deal. Just
City
Reading
clerk
over.
will note that notation, correct that. Any others?
Make a
Also,
motion to accept.
Okay. I don't think we need to do that as long as we've made the
Yeah.
correction, so. On the financial statement, you all received that. You might look at,
Motion in a second.
oh, we didn't? Okay. I'm sorry, Dean. Dean did make a motion. Do I hear a well, we've not discussed. Let's prove both of them at the same time so that
Okay.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves there.
Okay.
On the financial statement, does anyone have any questions concerning it? I might just get you to turn to the first page there, book balances. You see the total general fund of $1,517,000. Total street fund, $2,145,000. Below utilities, 41,000. Dedicated funds, $2,786,000. And total of all accounts, $6,490,000. If you'll skip on over maybe to the monthly financial statement under general fund checking account, look under receipts. You'll notice the totals there at the bottom line of year-to-date 2010, year-to-date 2011. You see that we're above our budget, which is extremely good that we're midway through the year. If you look down towards our expenses, you'll see that we're also holding our expenses below. So we're financially in good condition. Anyone like to add any or have any questions concerning the financial statement?
Mayor, as I understand it, 2011, 2010 year-to-date totals were a little over $200,000 better off this year, looking at your receipts.
211,000?
Yes, sir. And that's very good, very good. City's healthy.
Now I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda. Dean, would
So moved.
Second.
second by Eric. Roll call, please.
Terry Sayer,
Yes.
Jeanette Lassiter,
Yes.
Paula Allred,
Yes.
Thomas Evers,
Yes.
Kendall Stuckey,
Yes.
Keith Williams.
Yes.
Eric Shine,
Yes.
Dean Bittner.
Yes.
Consent agenda was approved. Now's the time of public forum, beginning at 6:36. This time, anyone may address the council that would like to have that opportunity. I did not get the sign-in sheet. Somebody grab that for me back there, please. No one on it. I'd like to encourage everyone that does attend the city council meetings to at least get your name on the attendance record. We would like a copy of your attendance. And no one to address the council. Under old business, we have received our legislative joint auditing report for 2009. I'd like to call your attention to page 2, right on the section of mayor. Competitive bids were not taken for all purchases exceeding $20,000 as required by Arkansas Code 14-58-303. We noted bids were not taken for the purchase of air packs, a generator with transfer switch, and a projector for the installation of telephones, including cabling. The city, however, did obtain informal quotes on the purchase of the air packs. And that was their findings. I wanted to address that. We're required to do this according to Arkansas state law to make you aware of any audit findings in the audit. So if you do have further questions, but I believe these comments will clear these up very well. Concerning item 1, Chief Morris did solicit bids for the purchase of air packs. However, there was not a formal bid opening. Item 2, the generator was purchased for $14,199 and a transfer switch for $4,777, totaling $18,976. However, when sales tax was applied later, the total went over $20,000. Item 3, telephone installation and cabling were priced separately, but when the bill came, they were added together, which put the total invoice over $20,000. I myself, Mayor Long, Eldon Long, is aware of the bidding requirements of Arkansas Code 14-58-303, and I will endeavor to adhere to the law. So that is our 2009 audit report. Any further questions concerning that?
Mayor, is there any penalty to the city?
No, there's not.
Is there anything that the city council needs to do to address this, or?
We're doing it now. It has to be brought out in a city council meeting, that these findings, that you're aware of them, and that we have addressed the corrections and aware of the what had happened, and that there's no fraudulent intent anywhere connected with the finding. This is what auditors do, and they have actually came out a pretty good audit for 2009. It's just one of those things that when sales tax came in, it threw it over the 20,000 threshold on that one item, and when you merged the other two pieces of equipment later, they were honest mistakes.
Do we need to make just move that we acknowledge that we've received this, or?
I'm going to ask our attorney if we don't actually have that on our agenda to do that, but if you think that would be a good idea, we certainly could do that. Well, what would you suggest, Lon?
I don't think it's necessary to acknowledge it once it's brought out. Once it's brought out on the record, I don't think we have to officially acknowledge it.
I believe we do. The auditors are going to look for it in the minutes that we did review the findings and acknowledge
Well,
them.
the agenda is proof that we did do that, though. Was my
Well,
only.
not that you acknowledge it. Well,
Mhm.
if we do that, then we need to follow the procedures for adding that to the agenda first, and then,
It's
Go
already
ahead and
on the
approve it.
agenda.
Yeah, it's on the agenda
on the
as
agenda.
old business.
oh, it's old business. Okay.
Mhm.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that this has been brought, I guess, acknowledge that you have brought this before us, I guess.
Okay, we have a motion that from, or an acknowledgement actually, from Keith that this has been brought to the council's attention.
I seconded.
And we have a second by Jeanette. All that approve the report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Thank you. Okay, under new business, we have an ordinance permitting aldermen, council members, officials, and municipal employees to conduct business with the city and prescribing the extent of this authority, emergency clause included. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review this ordinance and have any discussion on it before we accept the motion. Well, we actually need to accept the motion for it first, so we have a motion to go ahead and begin
I
the
was-
discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I was just curious, what's sparking this ordinance being brought up? Has something happened or something? I'm just curious what's kind of taking place.
Well, I don't think we can actually discuss it till we get a motion, can we?
Yes.
Can? Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. This is, again, we have had the state auditor with us for about the past 3 months, and these are some things were drawing our attention. This particular thing allows us to do business with city employees, or in the case of relatives, other things like that, that was not ever put into an ordinance in the city.
So if I understand it correctly, Mayor, with this ordinance, if it passes, for instance, Eric Shine owns Complete Comfort Heating and Air, he would be eligible to bid on city contracts and city services, yes or no?
That's a yes.
Well,
He
we
would
need to
directly,
clarify that.
he would
It-
directly be compensated from it.
Yeah, this is only indirect compensation for family members.
Okay, all
This
right.
is not a business that you're dealing with the city.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a state statute that says I can't directly be compensated, nor you.
Right.
But indirectly, correct.
Okay.
Well, the statute will allow you to be directly compensated if the council will approve that. Right now, we're not including all of that. We're just doing baby steps right now for family members who may be wanting to contract and are prevented from doing so because there is a family member somewhere on staff.
I have a question on the emergency clause. What is the necessity for that? I see the wording, I understand the intent there, but I don't believe that it meets the criteria for preserving the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of the residents.
But we don't have anyone that's cleaning the administrative offices, so the trash and garbage would just build up here in the offices. That would prevent us from having efficient administrative services to the public here.
And they said that the services could not continue without this?
Yes. This has been required by the state that we do this in the sense of the audit findings. Let me back up on the word required. It's not that we have to. I mean, we can certainly make our own decision on this, but it has been suggested.
But in the future, any other instance will have to come before the council with a copy of the contract
Any
that meets
contract,
this criteria.
true.
And Mayor, this is truly for transparency. So if there is
Right.
an involved family
Right.
member contracting with the city, everyone is aware that that's the case, correct?
That's true.
Okay.
Right, in the future, it'll be brought up by resolution, and that relationship will be disclosed to council prior to any approval of the contract.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I mean, if they're the most competitive, then I think you can certainly prove that. So I think
Well,
it's good to make that transparent.
For example, someone had brought to my attention a few years ago that someone could not bid that had the ability to put an awning up for the city that was going to be at a much reduced rate and probably better work. But because of, this not being in place, that did not happen. Any other questions?
I do have a question. So we could, in the future, make that to where a council person could bid on a project, such as myself, because I know that we have things like the fire department coming up, and I don't think anybody has to ever question my passion to our fire department. And I'd love to be able to help out the building of the new fire department by offering my services at a very reduced rate.
Well, that's the way I understand the ordinance, but I'm going to ask Vaughn to clarify it, and that's why I said yes to you earlier.
That's what I'm saying. I'd love future clarification, not for tonight, but because if we could do that, I would definitely love to be able to help in our future endeavors.
I did research on this just last week to be sure that I could answer these questions for you tonight, and that's exactly right. If any of the council members wanted to propose an ordinance that would allow them to do business directly with the city, we could bring that forth before council and let you vote on it. This is just baby steps to
I
take care of the
understand.
need that we have right now.
Like I said, it was just, I thought that was completely out of the question, but, as for myself, I would love to be able to help the city out in that manner.
But the same statute that we're citing in this ordinance, you can look at, and it'll cover that information as well.
Thank you.
And basically, Vaughn, clarify this if I'm wrong. Without this, then we are extremely limited to what we can do, because then we do have to refer back to that state law that prevents us from doing that. So this would supersede that state law, correct?
Right, correct.
Vaughn, is this a recommended practice by the state, what we're looking at doing here? I mean, as far as this ordinance is concerned, is it a recommended practice as far as if you're going to do business with family members of city employees, you have this ordinance in place? Or does the state truly recommend that you always keep those separate? I want to make sure and understand the distinction.
The statute doesn't make a distinction that way. It doesn't recommend or suggest that we do it any certain way, other than to say, basically, they're trying to avoid the appearance of impropriety by, on the state level, saying you can't do it this way. But local council can, under whatever circumstances they choose to use, set it up so that you can do certain things, but with specific guidance under specific circumstances like what we're setting out here.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept.
We have a motion by Dean Bittner.
What are you accepting the,
The ordinance as written.
Point of order. We need a motion to place on, suspend
Okay.
the rules, place on
Thank
third
you,
and final
Jeanette.
reading by title only.
Let me read it one more time. An ordinance permitting aldermen, council members, officials, municipal employees to conduct business with the city and prescribing the extent of this authority, emergency clause included. So I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading by title only.
Mr. Mayor, don't we typically leave the emergency clause separate?
Yes.
Can I ask one question here on I'm reading?
Separate vote
Final
on
reading is
that.
just for the,
And maybe this is for you, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Attorney, it says it reads, the way I'm reading this is that it's only under a contract, right? So if there's
Correct.
services that don't require a contract, I mean, that's okay, right? Is that what I'm just kind of reading through this thing and maybe dissecting it too much, but.
Well, the statute refers to contracts specifically. Well, you may not do business with the city if you're indirectly compensated. It doesn't specifically
Okay,
state
indirect.
contract or otherwise in the statute itself. But I think the council member was correct. The third and final reading is just for the ordinance itself. We'll have a separate vote on the emergency clause, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
So I have a motion to suspend the, motion to accept this ordinance.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
We
Dean,
haven't had a vote.
Dean, you already got
Third
the
and
motion?
final, we're-
I'll second it.
Point of order.
Yes, point of order. We're voting on third and final reading by title only first.
Okay,
That's what's before the council.
and Dean
Third and final reading.
gave a motion to that.
Mayor, I make the motion to accept the ordinance as read, as presented.
Point of order.
Third and final reading.
It's premature.
Okay.
And Kendall Stuckey, second the
Second.
motion.
Second that motion, but for
Once-
third and final reading.
Right.
All right, I make the motion, we accept it
No.
on the third and final reading.
Okay.
Place it on the third and final reading.
Second.
By title only.
Got it.
By title only. And you wonder why it takes Washington so long to do anything.
I hear a second.
Kendall Stuckey.
Right.
Second. For the fourth time. Oh.
Okay. Well, now we got that cleared up.
I'm going to call roll call 4 times now.
Roll call, please.
Please do.
Paula Allred,
Yes.
Dean Bittner,
Yes.
Eric Schein,
Yes.
Jeanette Lassiter,
Yes.
Thomas Evers,
Yes.
Keith Williams,
Yes.
Kendall Stuckey,
Yes.
Terry Sayer.
Yes.
I move we approve the ordinance as requested.
Second.
Okay, hold on. Jeanette Lassiter, second.
Keith.
Roll call, please.
Terry Sayer,
Yes.
Dean Bittner,
Yes.
Eric Schein,
Yes.
Paula Allred,
Yes.
Thomas Evers,
Yes.
Jeanette Lassiter,
Yes.
Keith Williams.
Yes.
Kendall Stuckey.
Yes.
This ordinance is assigned ordinance number 893.
Would you like to read it?
I would. Ordinance permitting aldermen, council members, officials, and municipal employees to conduct business with the city and prescribing the extent of this authority.
Okay, now is this entertained to enact emergency clause out of the script? We've already done that.
Mr.
We have
Mayor,
not enacted the emergency clause.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we enact the emergency clause.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay, roll call, please. Well,
Hold on,
we got
hold
it
on.
first. Eric,
I made the motion.
I second.
Motion,
Terry,
Eric
second.
Schein, and
We're catching on.
Terry for a second. Thomas Evers,
Yes.
Jeanette Lassiter,
Yes.
Eric Schein,
Yes.
Terry Sayer,
Yes.
Keith Williams,
Yes.
Kendall Stuckey,
Yes.
Dean Bittner,
Yes.
Paula Allred.
Yes.
this emergency clause is now enacted. Okay. Item number 2, we have a resolution retroactively approving contracts for cleaning, housekeeping, janitorial services between the city of Lowell, Arkansas, and Greta Long, and between the city of Lowell, Arkansas, and Casey Reynolds, relatives of an elected city official.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One is the resolution refers to the contracts in the plural attached here too. And I only received one contract. Are they identical except for the name?
They are identical except for the name, and you should have had both. Apologize.
And
For
the
that.
other concern I have is that in the contracts, the only one I got was Greta Long, and it refers to an item, paragraph 3, services to be performed, see attached cleaning checklist. There was no such checklist
Oh, really?
attached.
I got it.
I have one.
Would someone please share their checklist with Jeanette?
Please, thank you.
And also, if you don't mind, Eric, maybe show Jeanette actually the ditto contract of Casey Long as well. That way she can
I have
review
both those
those.
too, if you wanna see them.
While she's reviewing that, is there any other questions, discussion that we'd like to have concerning
Mayor, how often,
contracts?
But it wasn't
well,
on
I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. I'll ask that question in a bit.
there. Everybody else going, I don't need.
We're working on this right now. Mayor, are we addressing the contracts themselves right now, or just the resolution retroactively approving? Or is it all together?
Retroactively approving the contracts for cleaning.
Okay.
What's the length of the contract?
The length of the contract, we've really not addressed here. It's performance-based and as the need exists, so it could be expired by the mayor or by either party at any time.
Either party has 30 days, they have to give a 30-day notice to
Paragraph
terminate,
five.
as I understand
Paragraph
it.
5,
Right.
30 days. So
Mayor,
it's
how
not-
often-
Not got a long length of time attached to it.
How often are the services performed? Is it nightly or weekly?
Nightly and weekly and monthly, that's, if you look at the cleaning checklist,
Mhm.
you'll see that the restrooms are broken down in daily and monthly.
Right.
Council chambers, daily, weekly, and monthly. And of course, that includes the offices, the entry, all these other areas of the admin building.
Would we be running into the same issue that we did on this report here if we went 4 years on this contract? About the competitive bids, would that, I'm just kind of curious, would we run into, because if we pay $100 a week for, that's $5,200 a year. If we did it for 4 years, that would be more than 20,000. Would that be an issue at all?
I think it'd be 2 years.
Potentially could be. I think we would need to have council approval at that
Yeah,
point.
but isn't
again.
this is actually $200 a week,
It's
right?
actually $200 a
It'll be
week.
2 years if what you're saying is true. I don't know
Because
if that would be
there's no
true.
withholding here, so this is to help with the tax implications of these,
Yeah.
these contracts.
I just want to make sure we don't get another slap on the wrist on this because, you know, do we want to put a time limit and just reapprove it every year as a separate contract? Because otherwise, you may go over that $20,000 limit.
But is that, hold on, I think the way that audit's written is it's on a one-time buy, right? And this is over a
It's annual.
big time.
It's an annual audit, so.
Okay, well, it's annually, so annually it'd be $10,400 max, right?
I don't think
I don't
it'd be
know.
an issue. I'll ask Vaughn if he thinks it would, but I don't believe it would be.
If it's audited annually, then I don't think
Okay.
we'd go over the 20,000.
I just want to make sure we're okay.
Mhm.
If it
Cindy's-
were viewed, Cindy's gonna go.
You're right, Keith. If it's a long contract, if it goes over $20,000, we have to put it out to bid and jump through all those hoops. If we renew the contract annually, then we're okay. We just can't, it can't be a one-time deal. Like for instance, the contracts that we went over, the Xerox contract and the postage meter, that's why we had to bring them to you because they were over $20,000 because they were 5-year contracts. So if we make this an annual contract, we avoid that issue.
So do we need to add language which stipulates that it goes February 1 to February 1 each year?
Probably be a good idea, yes.
I agree.
So
Would
do you
that be
need that in
better,
the form of a motion?
before we
To amend.
go any further, would that be better February or January?
January, I think.
Is that easiest for you?
Bring all your housekeeping items up.
I'm sorry, what?
Would January 1st make it easiest for you? Okay.
That's fine.
Mayor, I make a motion that we add the language which stipulates the contract runs January 1st from 1 year until January 1st of the next year.
And we can add that as a number 6 to the contract.
Okay?
We have a motion from Dean Bittner.
To both contracts?
Yes, please.
Dean,
vote.
would you please write your motion down? We had some issues with this last council meeting on the wording, and then we'll have it correct, please. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question while he's doing that? Are there additional duties assigned here that were not done with the previous
Yes,
person? Okay.
yes.
Because I know this is an increase from what we were paying before.
Yeah, it's much more thorough, much more job being done. It's a lot of even light maintenance types of issues being handled as well.
I'm writing quickly, sorry.
He's writing the motion now. So we're very
Because
clear.
January to January meeting runs one day.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
Shouldn't that run January 1 to December 31st?
I would think
Otherwise,
so.
you're running it for one day if it's January 1 to January 1.
January 1, right, through December 31st.
Right.
Mhm.
If the person making the motion agrees to that change.
Mhm.
Second.
We'll see what he's
And when
up
he's
to
done,
here.
maybe he'll change the wording before he gets done.
Thank you, Dean. This contract, I have a motion from Dean retracting your first motion.
I
Since
make
we
a
changed
motion to
it.
retract the first motion and substitute it with this language.
Okay, there we go. This contract shall be in effect from January 1st of each year until December 31st of the same year. And then we can add that, line 6, if we agree to this. So we have a motion by Dean
Second.
and a second by Keith.
Vaughn, will that get us where we need to be?
I think so.
Roll call, please.
Terry Sayer,
Yes.
Eric Shine,
Yes.
Jeanette Lassiter,
Yes.
Thomas Evers,
Yes.
Paula Allred,
Yes.
Dean Bittner,
Yes.
Kendall Stuckey,
Yes.
Keith Williams.
Yes.
And we'll see that that's added on an item 6 under the contract.
Now, was that approval of the motion to change, to amend the?
To change the
Yeah.
contract.
Yep.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm assuming that the parties involved, Ms. Long and Ms. Reynolds, won't have any issue with that change?
No, I don't
Can't
believe it
imagine.
will.
So now we'll need to approve as amended.
Okay.
As amended.
So now we need a motion to approve the contracts as amended.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
Jeanette Lassiter
Jeanette,
and Paula.
Second.
roll call, please.
Paula Allred,
Yes.
Keith Williams,
Yes.
Terry Sayer,
Yes.
Kendall Stuckey,
Yes.
Dean Bittner,
Yes.
Eric Shine,
Yes.
Thomas Evers,
Yes.
Jeanette Lassiter.
Yes.
This resolution is assigned resolution number 894.
Is that an ordinance number, or is that a?
Oh, wait a minute.
Resolution.
Right, it is. It should be,
Oh, it is. I'm glad you caught that.
It'd be like 11 something.
Hold on just a second. Yeah, I just want to make sure. Okay. It's going to be resolution number 11-13.
Resolution 11-13. Item number 3, this resolution removing bookkeeper clerk Don L. Olson as third party to sign checks only in the absence of the mayor or finance director, and replacing her with administrative coordinator Melanie Houston as third party to sign checks only in the absence of the mayor or finance director. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor, does this have anything to do with our audit, or is this just to keep any?
This wasn't a result of the audit, but it was something that we discovered that needs to take place now that Don has left and keep
Okay.
with state statutes. So we do need to approve someone. And I and Cindy had a lot of discussion concerning who this should be, and it just made sense, since Melanie is here continually, Melanie being my assistant, should be given that responsibility.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion by Keith, second by Eric.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Dean Bittner,
Yes.
Terry Sayer,
Yes.
Jeanette Lassiter,
Yes.
Thomas Severs,
Yes.
Paula Allred,
Yes.
Kendall Stuckey,
Yes.
Keith Williams,
Yes.
Eric Shine.
Yes.
This resolution is assigned resolution number 11-14.
Okay. Under announcements, I had, moving on to Senior Center. I just wanted to kind of bring you some information. We had a group of senior citizens approach me about where we were with the Senior Center as far as a timeline and some other aspects, and some could not understand why all of a sudden there had been kind of a lag in what is being performed. On March 28th, we were notified that there could be some potential sites out there that the Historical Preservation, Arkansas Historical Preservation Committee would want to investigate, and that was one of the things that had to be cleared up. And so that went on and on and on through April, May, and June, and we finally got a letter on the 5th, actually, of this month, so almost 3.5 months. I'll read the letter. I don't think this letter was in your packet, but in March, we discussed the proposed construction of a senior center in the city of Lowell, Arkansas. The original concern was that the project might be within a recreational site that had received federal or state funding for development and is protected by a 6F3, this all sections finding a boundary, meaning that it must remain in public outdoor recreation in perpetuity. This 13.38 acres is located in the north portion of the park, bordering McClure Avenue. After reviewing the additional map that we had sent, it appears that construction for the senior center is being proposed south of that boundary. Based on this new information, the department has no objection to the proposed project. I'm attaching site maps for your convenience, so that we have been waiting on literally for over 3 months. I think we're going to begin to see a lot more activity out there now. Financially, I also, I think I did include this letter that I addressed to that group of senior citizens. We still have a shortfall. I'm encouraging any type of fundraising that we can do. I've initiated some of that through a brick by a brick as donation. Arvest Bank is helping with that. So those figures have changed somewhat. These figures are based on about a month ago, so I understand there have been other donated monies come in. They did give us a projected schedule, and it looks like, I'll just read the schedule to you, and then we can discuss this further if you would like. Looks like the grant is estimated to be signed on August 1st. The environmental clearance, which portion that we were waiting for was that letter I just spoke of, was really not anticipated until the 10th. Plan specifications submitted August 15th. Advertisement for bids 9/7 September. Bid opening 9/28. Contract awarded 10/3. Pre-construction conference October 9th. Start of construction estimated again October 10th. Construction complete May 10th of 2012, final inspection 5/15, closeout documents that are submitted June 10th. And again, this is just an estimated timeline with the senior center. But I did want to take a little bit and just have a report on that and answer any questions that the council may have that maybe or have not been addressed. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Eric, you look like you're ready to go.
I still want to contest that. I would love to see this building conform to the FEMA regulations, so we would have a storm shelter building. And one of the main reasons why I'm pushing so hard for this is I do know that we would get more grant money if we did so. So therefore, I think from what I've investigated into it, it would cover our shortfall.
I'm not sure if it covered the complete shortfall.
I don't know if it would cover it complete,
Yeah.
but it would cover at least some of it.
Right, and Jerry Mitchell and I had some earlier conversations that there could possibly be another $100,000 available through another grant, but we're not promised anything on that.
Correct.
That he's pursuing that.
One of the biggest things is, since we don't have a FEMA storm shelter within a reasonable distance, it makes it more prevalent that it would be accepted.
That's true. Good point, Eric. Thank you. Another thing that I had brought, we have been working somewhat feverishly lately to having approved lease. We've been going back and forth with the document, and we're close to wrapping up to present the lease agreement to the council, probably the next council meeting. So we're working on that as well.
Mayor, as far as with the shortage, potentially, since we may not have enough to cover full construction, if we're not able to raise those funds, do we have kind of a plan B?
We've been discussing things like utilities, maintenance, all types of things. One of the things that is on the table right now, that if we as a city had control of the building when not being used by the senior citizens and those activities that they use it for, we could lease that building out and use that as a utility adjustment, with the idea that they would share in 50% of the utilities and we would share in 50% of utilities. And if those utilities should underpace what leases came in, and those proceeds would go into a utility fund, 50% into the city's general fund and 50% into the senior center's fund as well. So we're kind of working on some ideas like that. That way utilities would be addressed. Maintenance, we're somewhat leaning towards the idea that since this is a senior center and it's near the park, you think of exercise, you think of volunteerism. We think that at this point, and I think as this progresses, we're going to see opportunities for people to get exercise by helping with the grounds and maintenance of that, and try to handle that from a volunteer basis. As far as the shortage, we're looking at different avenues of financing that endeavor with future fundraisers, replenishing any money that would come out of the city's general fund. And so that's kind of the approach that we're taking at this point. Of course, we won't have the specifics of the contract until the Office of Human Concern, Jerry Mitchell, and the city kind of come to agreement of what that lease is going to be, and then we'll have those discussions more detailed once we have that contract. But we're getting very close.
Okay.
I answer
Yeah. that's-
everything?
Well, 25% shortage is, that's quite a bit.
Well, we're
Yeah,
still
that's
anticipating some other funds to come in, but we just need to continue to do things. One of my thoughts was we are contemplating, well, not contemplating, we had a overage from Mudtown Days in the budget, and so we plan on having a bike rally during Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. One of the suggestions have come up that those proceeds from that in some areas could possibly go to the shortage with the senior center. We're looking at different things in that aspect as well, so. And then, of course, we gotta run everything through the attorney and see what we can do, what we can't do, so. Unless, our attorney would like to write us a check for $220,000.
Thanks, Vaughn.
I see some smiling faces back there.
But you guys know that, this being my first year here, I will need to research that, so I just can't give you answers today on how it all will fit together.
I think we still have some cookbooks to sell, don't we? So, I think we've got a few.
That goes to the museum.
Well, I thought, with this shorter agenda tonight, would be a good time to kind of discuss a couple of these issues, and that's why I threw them under announcements here. Any other questions concerning the senior center? I want to bring y'all up to date on annexation as well. I think most of you are aware of what's been going on. As of July 12th, this entire area was annexed, and I asked Eric to put this map up so we could see it all. Everything that you see up there in white is now annexed by the city of Springdale. That was effective on the 12th. It was followed by a resolution, and I believe you all had to have the resolution in your packet, hopefully. Everyone get that? And what that is allowing us to do is the mayor of Springdale, myself, and Larry Smith now can begin to discuss those areas that they would de-annex. That's why they call it simultaneous de-annexation. And so if we can agree upon these boundaries, and once that all pans out, how I understand this is that one night we will all have simultaneous city council meetings, Springdale, Lowell, and Cave Springs, and at the night that they choose to de-annex these agreed areas, then we as a council will make a decision to annex those areas that they have agreement to de-annex, so that no jurisdiction is without fire protection and so on and so forth. Tomorrow begins that process, and the mayor of Springdale, the mayor of Cave Springs, myself, and most of the fire chiefs are going to visiting several of these areas that we are interested by what we've determined from residents and public opinion that was expressed there at the Springdale City Chambers, and also people have come into City Hall. So we're going to be beginning those negotiations and those discussions tomorrow. The area that, you look at that top left-hand section of land there, an earlier map showed about half that being in Cave Springs and the second half to the right being in Lowell. That's pretty much agreed upon between Larry and myself as far as a west-east boundary. There you go, Eric. Thank you. So west to east is not really a critical issue right now, but establishing that northern boundary in light of the new bypass is what we'll be concentrating on as we go forward with this. I have asked that that area just north of the new proposed bypass be considered part of the Lowell, de-annexed area. I'm not getting a lot of favorable response at all in that, but we, with Chris Sullivan's help, have gotten a lot of response out of that area. Looks like it's about 50-50 of who would like to stay in Springdale, who would like to stay in Lowell. But it's something we're working towards, so keep us in mind tomorrow. We're going to be in close quarters in one vehicle for 2 hours, so I'm sure we'll hash a lot of things out then. Any other questions, maybe concerning the annexation, of how this would affect anything, or maybe you got specific questions?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. Eric, if you could take that back to the east just a little bit. There is a lot of property, if you could keep on going east. Thank you. There's a lot of property there that's along Apple Blossom that is going to be an island of Springdale that is only accessible if Springdale travels through Bethel Heights to get to, once that bypass is done. If you understand where I'm talking about. It's right across the street from the city of Lowell.
Speaking of Bethel Heights.
Yeah, well, actually, it's Springdale. It's the tan area right there. The Eric's-
About Walden and those streets, Eric?
Correct. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but while we're already talking about this, that's going to be an issue. I know in the future, because they're cutting off the end of the road right there where that's going to be going through for the bypass. So you won't be able to go down Silent Grove Road and make that corner on the Apple Blossom. So the only way to get to it would be through 71 or from the bypass and backtrack from Lowell.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know anything about the protocol, but that might be another small area we need to look at as we do all this to kind of clean up these boundaries all at once.
We certainly look at that, but I don't believe that we'll be able to tie any other annexation other than these lands.
Is this already a part of Springdale now?
Correct. It's already part of Springdale now. And like I said, just if it was a part of our talks right now about cleaning up our boundaries, I think it would.
It wouldn't be part of this de-annexation.
Right, it wouldn't be directly a part of this, but it would be at least a part of our talks of cleaning up our boundaries.
Any other comments or questions?
This is a difficult process. The mayors have, essentially, based on the statutes and how we're trying to proceed, we've got 3 different governing bodies. Springdale does have the right to keep it all if they want to. Because of the public outcry at their meetings a few weeks ago, they've passed this resolution to kind of calm the citizens down, to let them know that we will be doing something to try to appease them. The mayors will essentially have to agree on certain boundaries. Mayor Long will have to bring that to this council for approval of the boundaries before Springdale does anything. That ordinance, if it is passed by 2/3 vote, has to go then to Springdale. It has to be noticed. They have to have a public hearing. And then a vote themselves in Springdale as to whether they will de-annex. And at that point, we've got 30 days and then it becomes official.
And if I understand correctly, each individual citizen can actually do this with their own property, but they would have to basically go through that same process.
A similar process,
Right.
yes.
And so, I mean, whether they want to play ball or not, these people that want to be in the city of Lowell over another city, as long as their property is adjoining our city limits, they can still do that, correct?
They can petition to do that as long as they don't have services, but the statutes give Springdale 3 years to provide services.
So it's a catch-22.
3-year time period.
Interestingly enough, Springdale already responded to one fire call out there the day after the property was annexed in. It took them, and Chief Morris, you could get it, I think it took somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 or 12 minutes to get to the scene.
Would you? You bet, Mike.
Yeah, they had a call the very night after. It was really interesting, or unique situation. It was as far northwest as they could have possibly had to go, which you couldn't have asked for a more interesting time. They did have a very good response time for where they had to come from. We were not toned to that fire. It was actually in Cave Springs. Cave Springs was also toned to that, or sent to that, and they were both able to handle it. I believe the response time was actually about 10 minutes and 50 seconds, 11 minutes, right in an 11-minute border. And that was because they actually could have taken a shorter route, which we've since discussed and helped them educate on that process. Also, if I may address just real quickly to let you know, because I'm going to get asked this before I go home, I know. What about the people in that area right now? The fire chief in Cave Springs and myself and the fire chief in Springdale met one day right after the annexation, Wednesday evening, in fact, Wednesday afternoon. We will still be providing service into that area, even though it is Springdale. As a mutual aid department, we have added, what we had to do was to change some, I call them box tones, platform tones, whatever you want to call them. They will actually be toning us on the first assignment into that area, so we will still probably be the first one there most of the time. So if any of these constituents who are not currently in the city of Lowell are actually in Springdale now, but are wanting to come to know, or even asking you, what are you going to do for us in the meantime, we've already worked that out, and they will still be seeing us as well as Springdale into that area while we get this process walked through. So just calm anybody's fears that their times have gone up. They won't, because our time doesn't change. It's the same as it was a year ago, 6 months ago, and we'll still be there.
Mike, stay there just a moment. Eric, can you take your cursor and go over to the interchange? Put your cursor right there at the interchange, and now move it to your, Now can you go to your left up there with a new proposed bypass to that far corner there, up a little farther, right there? Mike and I have been much concerned about the Puppy Creek Road area. We've recently overlaid that, and as you continue down that, you have to, if you have a call down in that area, you have to go a mile north from that bypass bridge, basically, and then travel from the north back to the southwest down Puppy Creek Road to get to any residence, any type of emergency call into that area. Of course, that area will eventually, most of it be ate up by right-of-way. But we don't know exactly when construction will start. We don't know any definite timeline. And so in the interim, Mike and I have had discussions about approaching Doug about our capability of getting into that area more swiftly. It just makes sense. And so that's going to be one of the topics that we're going to be discussing tomorrow. If any of you get a chance between now and next council meeting, I'd really encourage you all to take a drive down Puppy Creek and kind of look at that area. When the pavement quits, that's essentially our city limits. But if you continue on to the west, what is about a quarter mile, and then that road shoots to the right and connects with Sassy Sue's storage.
Yes, that's correct. That's where it hits Spring Creek.
And so Chief Morris and I are really believing that that section there should stay, well, I say stay. Most people in that area consider themselves Lowell residents, but actually it's in Springdale now. But we're going to be asking Doug to release that area. So if you have any questions about that area, I'd kind of like to have a little feedback as well. And that's a better map there, Eric, because you can see the creek You can also see Puppy Creek Road and where it intersects. Of course, all the green you need to pay no attention to right now because we don't know when that'll happen, but we know eventually it will. But we still have to concentrate on serving that community. The people in that area do prefer to be in Lowell, the majority of them. So, is there any comment or question about that area? That is an area that we will be discussing tomorrow.
That's actually what I view as the most critical area to look at because you're talking a huge difference in response time at that location. So I will help assist in any way I can to see what we can do to make that happen. Because it's a very short distance for us.
Anyone have any other questions for Mike? Any other questions regarding annexation? I would encourage y'all to drive down that way sometime and just kind of look at, you can look at things all day long on a map, but until you get there and drive down the area, then you begin to see some of the logistic problems of getting equipment in and out of that area so rapidly.
Mayor, can you print a copy of that for us?
Sure
Eric,
can.
do you have the ability to print that off for us?
We have a large one posted in the planning room, but Eric can certainly make you some smaller copies
I'd like
and
to
get
have one.
y'all one. So,
Or email.
okay, email it.
Email
We'll
it.
email it, Eric.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Okay, under announcements, if there's no other thing concerning annexation, anyone else have any announcements?
I have a question for our attorney.
Question for the attorney.
Some of us have discussed some possible ordinances we'd like to see presented. Would you like us to prepare a draft of the ordinance or just give you the information we'd like to see in an ordinance?
If you could draft it, that would be helpful, and then we can discuss details of it and formatting. The reason why I ask that you do that is that I don't want to be the one that's proposing the ordinance by setting forth the wording to begin with. If council members would do that, then I could help with the requirements of the language for passage.
Mr. Mayor, I had a phone call just the other day and from one of our constituents that lives on McClure. And she was concerned with the expansion of McClure. I don't know what has happened in the past, but I know that that expansion has been on our drawing board for quite a long time. And she was expressing the fact that she had done many improvements upon her house, and she felt like she'd never received any information. She came down and got permits and things to do all of her improvements and was never informed about what the plans were. I know since I've become a councilman for my ward that when things are affecting my ward, I do address and walk door to door, but I know that she started asking me some questions of timelines and some things, and I was wondering if maybe we could get some information regarding that, so that way we could get that out to our citizens.
Okay, would next council meeting be all right to do that? And
I believe it would.
Okay. Well, we'll address McClure next council meeting,
Thank you.
and we'll get an updated timeline where we are exactly with that. That contract has went out for design.
I know one of the big questions is exactly where the lines are going to be drawn, and if we could get that, maybe a proposed map of where that's going to be, even help with calming some concerns.
Okay, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mayor, if I may, a few things right quick. Those of you on the Personnel Committee, I apologize that we did not have a meeting since the last council meeting. Before you leave here tonight, if you will, join me and let's set the date. I also received an email, as most of you did, regarding some graffiti over on the east side, and appreciative to Chief Landers and Sean and those of you involved in getting that cleaned up. Thank you. Again, if we're going to pursue the election by staggered terms, Vaughn, do you know what the cutoff is on the special election this fall, or do we need to get that?
I don't offhand, but that's something that the mayor and I have been discussing.
Right,
We're going to
okay.
tackle that the next couple of weeks.
Super. And last but not least, storm sirens. We've talked about it in the past, but as we move forward, I hope that we can get some quotes on pricing for that and consider putting that into the budget for 2012. So that's all I have.
I did have one announcement, Mike. I wanted to let you know that Iberia Bank has 7 volunteers for the program. So if you can come up with an additional 3, we should have our minimum of 10. So I did want to announce that we had sent out an email at work, and we had a lot of people interested. So I think when we get closer to that time, we may be able to recruit a few more. But we've got 7 hard and fast that are willing to sign up. Just let me know what paperwork we need, and I can take it to work and get it distributed.
I'll get it for you. I'll get it to you. Actually,
Mike?
I can have it emailed to you.
Where would that bring our total to?
I believe with those 7, it'll put us just over 20 total. Don't have the folder in front of me, but I believe we have either.
We're really aiming at trying to get 25 to 30.
Yeah, but
Because if we have 25 to
Good
30,
start.
we can always depend on 15 to show up.
oh, in the city of Lowell, we can depend on 25 if we have 25.
I don't mean that in a negative way, Mike. We talked about this in a positive way. People are busy. They're on
Yes, they are.
vacation.
They
They're
are.
gone. They move and they go, and
Vacation.
disasters don't pick a time when everybody's in one area.
No, they usually pick the time when very few people are around, as a matter of fact.
Can you bring us up to date with Joe and what he's needing
Yeah,
to do?
I can. In fact, that's why I stepped back up here, because I wanted to answer it all at once instead of 10 times on the way out the door. Had a conversation with DEM myself Friday. I got tired of waiting for feedback, and so I had a conversation Friday afternoon late. We were informed that they have revamped the CERT program nationwide, the national program. Joe has not been brought up to the current standards of instructor in the new program yet. It is a one-day class that has to be done by DEM, and he gave me a semi-firm commitment that they would have that class done by the second week of August. So that's literally all we are waiting on, is to get that recertification done so that he can do that. As soon as I know that that is in his hot little hand, then we will at that point establish a date. We have enough people to begin. We will at that point establish our training dates and programs and get that out to everyone. In the interim, probably as soon as I know he's going to get his certification, I'll send everybody a letter or an email, however I can get out to him, bringing him up to date where we are to that point. So, like I said, I don't have the exact numbers, but I want to say it brings us to somewhere between 20 and 23 people. Right, and I know that there are at least 4 or 5 more who have spoken to me that don't have applications yet, and we will be getting them to them. So it's looking great. The county, in fact, has asked that we work with them. I found out that Bentonville does that. They don't just do Bentonville, they also co-act with the county organizations and kind of all work together on that. And so I told him that we would be very interested, that we were forming a team in Lowell, whether anybody liked it or not, but that we would be available to do whatever we needed to do to help anybody we could. So that's kind of where we're at this point. I know it probably seems like they said, oh, let's do it. But as he said earlier about Washington, it's no different in Benton County. You get your dates and then you move on, and we should have that date within the next few days. All right?
Thank you, Mike.
Chief, could you send out the application to all the council members?
Yes, sir, we can do it on email.
Okay.
In fact, Joe is
I'd
on
like
duty.
to-
Joe is on duty, in fact, today, and before I leave, I will stop and, I believe everybody's email is in the regular system, and I'll ask him if he'll get that out to everybody, just email it out. All right? Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Thank you, Mike. Any, oh, yes, we've got, Paula's pointing at the Code of Ordinances book, that if you leave that, those, city clerk will bring those up to date. Don't want to miss that.
Did we want to set a personnel committee meeting?
We can do that when this is over. If y'all just gather around, we'll look at the calendar.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Before you move that,
Oh,
I
you
just,
can't do that.
yeah. Yeah.
Without a second,
Just
yeah.
say it quiet, can you hang on? Joe Landers, appreciate you being here tonight. He got out of here real quick. And the reason I want to do that, if you're a public official and you're employed by the city, I know it's a lot of special effort to get up here at these council meetings, and I look out here and I see so many of you I work with every day and say, bless your hearts, you picked a job that takes you away from home many nights, but I really appreciate all of you that make that special effort. Don, all the planning meetings, Chris, Melanie, Cindy, Mike, even you two. You know, we appreciate you. I know there's somewhat of an obligation there. Yeah, I know. We even go to Springdale council meetings, don't we? We sure do. Lloyd Showalter, he's over here, and many times we have many of the commissioners.
Covering Paul Polero.
Yeah, Paul Polero is, he was here as a police officer, and Pete, here, who worked with the streets, was here tonight. So I just really appreciate that. If we didn't have our employees show up sometimes, we wouldn't have very many here. So, but issues change and the house fills up and the house dies down. So while we're talking about that too, I know we had one issue come up last city council meeting, and I just want to encourage any of you council members, anytime there's an issue that you'd like to discuss with me privately, just call me and we can discuss whatever topic or whatever you're interested in. I know some of you take more advantage of that than others, but I just wanted to reiterate, you're always welcome to come by and we can talk, and just one of you at a time. That's all I can talk to. Can't gang up on me. State won't allow that. But we can certainly discuss things. So with all that said, I think I heard Jeanette trying to get a motion in there a while ago, but
I promised Darren Brock that I would hold his tradition forward after he left office, that I would try to be the one to make that motion each time. So
oh, really? Okay.
just fulfilling a promise.
So we have a motion to adjourn by Councilman Jeanette Laster, seconded by
Second.
Dean Bittner. There being no objections, this meeting adjourned at 7.